welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet, and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason. How are you doing?
Good. Good weekend. Nice outside. Beautiful weekend to watch some soccer. There were a couple pro matches in town.
Yeah, we kind of divided and conquered this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah. I went to the Cavalry match, and you went to the Wild match.
And I wish I'd gone to the Cavalry match. Let me just put it at that. But no, we'll get into it. But this is our weekend recap, where we talk about some of the games involving Calgary-based soccer teams over the weekend. So yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Cavalry FC's home game against Halifax. We'll talk about Calgary Wild's game against Montreal Roses. Those two kicked off at the exact same time. And then we'll also recap some of the post-secondary university and college soccer that occurred over the weekend.
Yeah, it should be good. Looking forward to getting into it. And yeah, start off with Cavalry FC, I think.
Hi, I'm Levi Lang, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So, Jason, this was a big game for Cavalry FC, hosting Halifax Wanderers for the second and last time this regular season. These two teams were neck and neck in the table, Cavalry in third, Halifax just a point behind them in a tie for fourth place with York United. So, there was a lot of chatter leading up to it about the playoff ramifications and Cavalry, they got the job done, didn't they? They played really well and they posted a 3-1 win.
I think the Cavs were pretty happy with their performance. They went out there and clearly looked like the better team. Every now and then Halifax would look dangerous and they look threatening for a bit. But Cavalry, like Gota Natigne, I thought looked fantastic out there. He was causing the Halifax defenders fits, and he was involved with assist on one of the goals. And Ali Musi, had another good match. He had a goal and an assist, and you'd never know that he spent most of the week traveling between Uganda and Calgary.
Yeah, I think Tommy Wheeldon Jr. referenced the roundabout way he had to come back home from international duty. Went from Uganda to Qatar, and then I think he said he flew to Seattle and then flew to Calgary from there, and only had a couple of days before this game. So for him to put in a performance like that after 3 flights and international duty, what a performance from him. But yeah, the whole team honestly played well. I thought Bradley Camden-Fewo had a really great performance at left back. And yeah, Natigne, he has just become probably one of the first names on the team sheet because every week he seems to put in a solid performance. And yeah, that assist on Ali Musi's goal was, it was a nice finish from Ali Musi, but Natigne did the hard part.
Well, I don't know if you noticed this. I'm guessing you probably did, but that Natigne blew right by that the defender that was defending him, Perlman, I think it is. He's the guy who scored the one goal for the Wanderers. But then a few minutes later, he was about to blow by him again, and Perlman just grabbed his shirt, took the yellow card, and didn't want to let him blow by him again like that. So that just shows you where Natigne is at, and people like those tactical fouls that he's forcing players to make. I did want to mention one thing you mentioned about Bradley Camden-Fewo. That guy can be really fast deceptively fast. I was watching at one point and he basically tracked down one of the Halifax's players on their front line. And I was really impressed. I know he's very athletic and everything like that, but man, he turned on the jets. Whoa.
Yeah, I noticed that too this game. It just seemed like he had an extra gear. And I thought he had, a few really key important tackles. Didn't let his man beat him hardly ever. So yeah, strong performance really on the left side from Cavalry. But throughout the pitch, I think everybody played quite well. We haven't mentioned their first goal, which was a great team effort. Really nice ball into the box from Eldissimo. A great vision there. And then the cross in from Musi was great to the back post. And then big man Eric Kobza was there to nod it home.
That was a nice goal. And anyway, Scott, I got a good story to tell you about after the Kobza goal. Did you notice anything unusual after the Kobza goal regarding the celebration?
Of course I did, Jason. I think everybody watching noticed. Never seen this happen before, but yeah, obviously at the Cavalry game, there are 2 Volkswagen vehicles just off the corner flag. And I guess they're kind of like advertising, they're promotional. And we watched Eric Kobza run over to one of the vehicles and try to open the door. But unfortunately for him, it was locked.
So every now and then I get a chance to be privy to one of the behind the scenes stories of what goes on at a Cavs match. And this is one of those moments. So the reason that Eric Kobza went to the Volkswagen and tried to get in is that the good people at Volkswagen had apparently told the members of Cavalry that if anyone went inside that Volkswagen at any point during the game, that they would receive some kind of financial compensation of some sort for doing that. So that's where it all came from. But then when Kobza tried to get in, the door was locked.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll get the incentive after all, but I mean, we're all talking about it. So Volkswagen, they're getting talked about. Yeah, that was one of my favorite celebrations I've seen after a Cavalry goal this year, for sure. Just the absurdity of him running over to this car and pulling on the handle.
Well, and then the other part about it, like I said, is that I could hear chatter about, why is the door locked?
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, way to make his first goal in 2 seasons memorable. Am I right? Because Eric Kobza, I think, scored twice in the 2023 season, but didn't score last season. And this was his first goal of 2025. So, yeah, good to see him back on the score sheet. I think he's definitely a threat on those crosses to the back post. Like, he's one who usually goes up for corners and free kicks, but it was nice to see him get a goal. For sure.
And one thing, and I'm not sure, maybe this is just something that I was just oblivious of until this point in time. He's a really tall guy. So you can definitely understand why he could be one of those guys that could jump up and get ahead to the ball on a set piece or a play like that.
So anyway, Jason, talking about the importance of this game, the win means that Cavalry, with 5 games left in the regular season, are 3 points clear of York United, who are in 4th place. And they are now 4 points ahead of Halifax Wanderers. 5 games left. Pretty much every player says the same thing, right? That every game from here on out is going to be treated like a final or like a playoff game, because you don't want to make any mistakes at this stage of the game.
It's not a given that, 3rd place is theirs. They're obviously in a good position right now, but they can't take it for granted.
No. And York seems like they're still in good form, right? Obviously, they beat Cavalry 3-1. Last weekend, and they got a good 2-2 draw against Ottawa today. And their next 2 games are against Vancouver FC and Valor, which are 2 teams toward the bottom of the standings. So you can't really count out York. So Cavalry is going to have to be at the top of their game from here on out, definitely.
Hi, this is Carly Johnson, and this is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Scott. So while I was at Spruce Meadows watching the Cavalry match, you were over at McMahon at the exact same time, and you were watching the Calgary Wild play the Montreal Roses.
Yeah, I was hemming and hawing over which game I wanted to go to on Saturday. I ultimately decided to go to the Wild. I was curious to see how they were going to rebound from the demoralizing 6-0 loss to Vancouver the week before. And I wasn't too sure what to expect. I mean, the last few times Calgary has played Montreal definitely looked the better team, but they have beaten Montreal this season. So I thought, they're the home team. It's the pride match. There's going to be a big crowd. I thought this is a time for the Wild to really put in a strong performance. Unfortunately, that did not happen. This was another really, really bad performance, resulting in a 5-0 win for Montreal. They scored early, and it never really looked in doubt. 2-0 at halftime, but 5-0 after the 90. Just, the Wild's players, shoulders were slumping, heads were down. This is a team that is really down and out.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole match. I watched the highlights. I'm getting the impression, and you can guide me through this, that the Wild never really had any real remote chance of scoring at any point in this game. Is that fair to say?
I think they had shots, but it was maybe 1 or 2 half chances, nothing concrete. Montreal just really played them off the park, to be honest. This was as one-sided a match as we've seen the Wild be involved in.
And I noticed a couple things when I watched the highlights. A couple of the comments that I know you've made in the past about, the kinds of mistakes they're making, like even on that first corner kick. They initially defended it, but they didn't do a very good job of clearing their line, and then that resulted in the goal. Like seems like some of these things are, recurrent themes. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, not defending the second phase after a set piece, definitely an issue for the Wild. Also, defensive giveaways. They're a team that loves to try to play out from the back, but unfortunately, they don't have the technical ability to do so. And other teams have clued in, so they employ a high press and they catch the Wild out of possession high up the field, and 1-2 passes, you're in. Those are two things the Wild has consistently struggled with this year, and has conceded a number of goals as a result. This game, Jason, I think I came to a realization I probably should have made earlier, which is that the Wild, they always try to match their opponent's technical ability, right? They don't play negative football. They try to play a possession-oriented style of play. They try to go toe-to-toe with their opponent. And the reality is they shouldn't be doing that, I think, because the other teams are stronger player for player.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, because it seems to me, when you said that, I started thinking about it, and it seems like the team seems to feel that they need to play a certain way. Remember that goal that Sarita Thurton scored, where Mika Rolfsema just booted that long pass up and Sarita Thurton got it and then scored? That's the only goal she scored this year, where that was a play which is totally uncharacteristic of what the Wild are trying to do. And it worked. That play worked. And I remember in the press conference, they said it was just something they chatted about the day before in training. But, they're always trying to play it out of the back. A play like that, they did it one time. They've never, that I've seen, ever attempt to do anything like that again, because they've just gone back to sort of the way they play. And yeah, I kind of think your thought process on that, I'm kind of in agreement on it.
Well, I'm just thinking, if you watch European football and you watch, let's say, the first place team in the English Premier League, let's say it's Liverpool or Manchester City, let's say they're playing the team in 19th or 20th. The team in 19th or 20th is not going to try to outpossess Man City or Liverpool or to play the same style as them. They're going to put a lot of players behind the ball. They're going to look for the opportunity on a counter or maybe on a set piece. They're going to get players into the box and hope to score on a scrappy header, but they're not going to try and play them the same way, because they'll suffocate, right? They won't be able to handle it. And the Wild has, and especially in these last few games, they've not been able to handle the technical ability of their opponents. And yeah, Montreal were ruthless on Saturday. Jason, we've been kind of keeping track, and this is now 4 games in a row for the Wild without scoring. I think their scoring drought is approaching 400 minutes. So really dark days for the Calgary Wild. And while they're not mathematically eliminated from playoff contention yet, the chance of them, they pretty much have to win their last 5 games of the season, and it's just not going to happen.
I think it's at a point now that even if they won every match, other teams would have to lose sufficient matches for them to qualify. So here's the thing, Scott, where do you kind of go from here? In that post-match press conference, there were comments about trying to figure out players and that sort of thing. Do you think this just now turns into, players playing for their jobs and trying to figure out if they, where they're going to be at? And I'm kind of curious to sort of see even the players that are even in the lineup are getting subbed in and who's not getting subbed in. It's kind of a bit of a tell on who Lydia Bedford, feels confident in, and for that matter, who she doesn't.
Yeah, there was a comment she made about, I just need to know who actually wants to play for this shirt. And that's exactly it for these last games. Who is willing to still battle, who is willing to still put everything on the line and try to scrape out a result, because I think they know, obviously they know at this point that there's nothing to play for other than pride. And it comes down to who's willing to play for pride, right? You know what? I think at one point in the first half, Jason, and I texted you this, I counted up all the goals that the starting 11 had scored throughout the season, and it was 6 goals. I think this is a team where the top goal scorer has 3 in 20
That's
games.
That's Callie Johnson, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Callie Johnson and I believe Michaela Moore has 3 as well.
Yeah, I think that's true, yes.
and she's a center back, and Maggie Doherty Howard has 2. But 20 games in for your top goal scorer to have 3 goals and to have not played since it feels like since June. Really, it has gone really poorly, unfortunately, I have to say.
I've got the spreadsheet out, Scott. She's missed the last 6 games, and she has not started a game since May 24th.
Yeah. So it's too bad. I think, there are some pieces in this Wild team that have been positive, and I think we've highlighted those pieces as we've noticed them, but it seems in these last 4 games, there's just been really nothing positive to say about the results. It's just really going badly at the moment.
So now the Wild don't have to wait very long to get back on the pitch and redeem themselves. They've got a match on Wednesday evening here in Calgary at McMahon. They're playing Ottawa.
Yeah, which is the team above them in the standings. So this is why it's still mathematically, I guess, possible. Like once this game is over, we'll know for sure. But Ottawa has 10 points on Calgary. They have 30 and Calgary has 20. As mentioned in the post-game press conference, the last time Calgary played Ottawa, they got the win. They've drawn them as well this season. So it's a game that they can win. It's a team they can beat. But obviously, they're coming into it probably with the lowest confidence they've ever felt. So they have to dig deep. They have to find something somewhere within them to try and scrape out a result.
Hi, this is Aislinn Phillips, and this is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Let's wrap things up by talking about Calgary's post-secondary teams. Both of the U Sports schools, University of Calgary and Mount Royal University, went on road trips west to play teams from BC. Dinos had a very prolific weekend taking on UBC Okanagan in Kelowna, winning 6-1, and then traveling the short, I guess, a couple of hours to Kamloops to play Thompson Rivers University and winning 4-0.
That's a pretty solid road trip. Now, I think that both of those teams are probably not the strongest teams in Canada West, but still, to go on a road trip like that and to dominate, that's definitely pretty impressive from that point of view.
And Mount Royal University coming into the weekend unbeaten. They had, I would argue, tougher opponents than the Dinos, taking on Trinity Western and University of the Fraser Valley, and no goals to speak for in either of those games. Mount Royal clawing out 2 goalless draws to maintain their unbeaten start to 2025, but giving up their sole position in the standings for first place.
Yeah, so now they're tied with the Dinos in the Prairie Division for first place. So based on what we can see so far in the standings, I believe the next team behind them has 9 points. So they've already separated out to the degree of 6 points already and this early in the season. So it's definitely looking like it's going to be a dogfight between the two of them for the rest of the year.
And I think the second Crowchild Classic is on October 10th. Depending on how the next few weeks go, that game could have some really interesting ramifications.
In the women's division of U Sports, Mount Royal Cougars and the UC Dinos, they were also on the road. Mount Royal went out to Winnipeg. They played 2 matches in Winnipeg against the Manitoba Bisons, and the Dinos went down to Lethbridge and they played 2 matches against the Pronghorns. So I don't really remember this happening too much before, although I'm sure it has. But this the way the schedule worked out. These teams are playing. They're basically doing a doubleheader over the weekend and playing the same team twice.
Yeah, so first game for the Cougars was a 2-1 win. Goals coming from Annalisa Galvez and Gabby Linford. And the following afternoon, they followed that up with a 1-0 win with Tamara Jurisic scoring the lone goal of the game. And for the Dinos, kind of interesting dichotomy between the two results. On Saturday, they beat the Pronghorns 1-0 with Isabella De Palma scoring. You'd think the next day would be another close battle. Not the case at all. Dinos won 8-0 in the return fixture with Brooke Colvin scoring a brace. Lots of familiar names getting on the score sheet. Sarah Donick, Jaden Berg, Grace Moore, Ashlyn Phillips, former podcast guest, and Isabella De Palma scoring her second of the weekend.
So when you look at the standings in the Prairie Division, the Dinos are in first with a perfect 6-0 record, and the Cougars are right behind them, 5 wins and a draw. So again, Cougars and Dinos in both men's and women's at top of the Prairie Division.
Yeah, another great weekend for Calgary-based teams in U Sports. I think we've said that 3 weekends in a row. All right, let's quickly mention SAIT's performances. On the women's side, the Trojans had what will probably be one of their toughest games of the regular season. They went to Red Deer to face the Queens. Yeah, I guess it was close, wasn't it? It was a 2-1 win with Nikki Charlton scoring both of the Trojans' goals, that being on Saturday. And then they went down to Olds from there and played the Broncos and won 8-0. Which is a much more typical scoreline we'd see in a SAIT women's game. Nikki Charlton scored another brace, Sage Joseph scored a brace, and then Amy Fallow, Megan Weeb, Selena Allen, and Rachel O'Leary were the other goal scorers.
And on the men's side, another couple victories for the men's Trojans. They went to Red Deer and won 4-0. Esteban Johannes got a hat trick, and Solomon Nibre, who got the other goal. Then on Sunday, they went to Olds, and this was kind of a bloodbath. They won 9-0, and with the goals were Cruz Dodson, Henny Hayebu, Shadrick Boyke got a hat trick, Robert Woodruff Brown got a hat trick, and Grant Johnson finished up the scoring.
So both SAIT teams are still rocking 100% records. Women are 4-0. And the men are 3-0, but they're tied for first with Medicine Hat College at the moment.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links there so you can buy Scott's book. It's called Here Come the Cavalry, and it's all about the history of pro soccer in Calgary. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media such as Twitter or Instagram or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.